It was something that Charlie and I always did, just reading together, sitting down at the end of all of that and being able to sit in the same place with someone and not always have to talk. And being comfortable in somebody else's presence is what reading does for us. Hi, my name is Mary Ellen, and this is the story of how I met my fiancé, Charlie.
We first met in 2006, which was her senior year and my sophomore year of college.
Second semester, I took a class called The History of Psychology and Psychiatry. Charlie and I happened to be in that class, and I had never met him before, and he was a sophomore, actually. Didn't know that.
RTA would ask a question which led nowhere.
There was only one other person in the class that was responding besides myself when it was dead silent, and that was Charlie.
One of us would pick up the subject and sort of run with it.
So over the 14 weeks of sections, 1 hour a week, he and I started communicating from across the table.
We would just trade off, and it got down to the point where we would just sort of look at one another like, okay, is it your turn to start off? Is it my turn?
We really hadn't talked outside of that. But Charlie and I got to know each other this way. Every single week in class, he and I had a two-person discussion on the history of science and of medicine and psychology. I ended up emailing him because I knew he was still in town since he was a sophomore.
I didn't know that she was in the graduate program, and so I sort of just generally, hey, how have you been for the last semester? And we went, I guess, on a couple of these coffee dates, non-dates, through the next, year and a half. She was presenting her paper, which had been accepted to a conference.
There were about 45 people in the room.
And as I walk in the door, sort of trying not to make a big show of arriving after the talk's already started,
I stopped, and I saw him, and I lit up. I know I did. And I said, "Oh, hi!"
And then seems to realize that she's still in front of everybody and needs to keep talking.
I realized that I was delighted to have him there in a way that it was more than the coffees that we've been going to. At one point, a little over a year and a half ago, we both went out to our favorite cafe bookstore and said, okay, well, it's getting a little bit late, maybe it's time to go. It was so good talking to you, it's been a couple hours. We looked at the clock. It had been almost 6.5 hours that we were sitting there.
We realized, there may actually be something here. I think the point where I knew I wanted to marry her was when I decided that I wanted to spend the year here.
He actually decided, you know what, I think I'm not going to go to LA for my year off. He got his deferral, and he decided to stay here.
And I looked for positions here. I found a position in a lab here at the medical school, and yeah, I realized I can spend life here with her for at least, this year, and beyond that, who knows. He
studies the circadian rhythms of Drosophila. In layman's terms, he studies the sleep cycles of fruit flies. And that's how I knew he really loved me.
We were sitting on the couch, we were talking about the plans for the following year.
And it's like, you know what? We've got the next 5 years planned, because we'd actually gotten there.
I said, okay, then we're engaged.
And I said, no. He's like, no. I'm like, you have to put it in question form. That was not a question.
So I restated in the form of a question.
And I made sure he was serious. And then, yes.